Welcome to Culture Screen, where we analyze culture. In this episode, we're summarizing the 10th episode and season finale from season 1 of Ozark, titled The Toll. In the beginning, Marty is gazing out across the lake. Wendy and Charlotte come in and break his stare. Charlotte interrogates her father, wondering if last night's incident was truly an accident. He responds with a simple yes. Meanwhile, Pastor Mason and Ash are packing actual Bibles into Ash's vehicle, as well as false Bibles loaded with drugs. Mason bids his wife farewell with a kiss. We now know where Charlotte wanted to go. Ruth, Wyatt, and 3 are visited by the birds. Following the deaths of Russ and Boyd, they drop off a basket of supplies and check on the Langmores. Wendy expresses her gratitude to Ruth as Marty tries to communicate with Wyatt and 3. He expresses his regret for their father and uncle. Wyatt thanks Marty and goes away, but not without one more look at him. Mason tries to preach while on the water again, but we see he finds it difficult to focus and seems to be on the verge of a nervous breakdown. He puts down the microphone and asks to speak with Jacob. Ash dials Jacob and informs him of the situation. In another scene, we see one of the cabin's doors is not completely closed all the way, and Rachel enters. Rachel starts searching and discovers a piece of the wall paneling is sticking out slightly. At first, she finds nothing out of the ordinary. Mason informs Jacob that he did plan on returning to the river to preach, but he was unable to do so. He believes he would be preaching a lie if he did so. Jacob tells Mason he is free and asks Ash to double check that the hymnals are in their hands. Mason is perplexed by this remark and cannot believe the Snells will let him go free. Jacob tells Mason that he has always been free. He goes on to argue that life is all about choices and that all they can do now is accept the choices they've made. Mason returns home and calls to greet his wife, Grace. While we see Mason travel from room to room looking for his wife, we hear Marty and Jacob talking. Marty begs Jacob to give him a second chance. Jacob declares that the job is complete. Marty appears perplexed and inquires as to what Jacob did. Jacob replies that he has merely kept his promise. Mason notices a baby laying on the table after hearing the baby wailing in their back porch. His wife has yet to be discovered, however. Marty estimates Jacob's loss on the water that day at about $300,000 and offers to buy Jacob's product. Marty assumes Jacob wants to operate on land, but Jacob adds that this will put a strain on their relationship with local cops. Marty is willing to launder the profits that Bobby Dean previously covered, and he explains this to Jacob. Although Darlene is not a fan of the idea, Jacob accepts the offer. When Garcia sees Jonah rushing off into the woods from his automobile, he becomes suspicious. Charlotte, back at home, refuses to leave the house without her father. She tells them that they agreed that they must keep together. Jonah reappears, brandishing his brand new weapon, and orders Wendy and Charlotte to run. When they spot Garcia in the home, Jonah draws his weapon and points it at him. Garcia asks where they're fleeing off to without Marty and ignores the gun being pointed at him by Jonah. Garcia continues to approach Jonah. When Jonah finally shoots the gun, it does not work. Buddy appears almost immediately with a shotgun, aims it at Garcia, and orders Wendy and the kids to get in their car. Buddy and Garcia are left standing, and Wendy and the kids hear a loud gunshot as they climb into and leave in their car. Sheriff Nix heads over to the Snell's residence because Pastor Mason believes his infant was cut out of his wife's womb. Of course, they both play stupid and act like they don't know what the sheriff is talking about. Darlene asks the sheriff if he has any proof of this happening, and the sheriff says no. Later on, Garcia is found dead in the Birds' living room when Marty returns home. It was the only option, Buddy explains. Buddy tells Marty that his family has left and that they are safe once he stops coughing. Marty is undecided and does not know what he should do next, so Buddy advises that they should wait until it is dark to clean up the place. At night, Marty and Buddy transfer the body to the mortuary where they cremate Garcia's corpse. Later on, we see Marty goes to the records office to request maps from the county clerk. The Snell's property is indicated by the clerk. Marty then says he'd like to see maps that show how that land is connected to the Missouri River. When the clerk asks as to why she is obtaining the map for him, Marty lies and claims that his son is conducting a study project. Rachel returns to the lodge and discovers the hidden money by hammering one of the cabin's walls. She collects a small portion and leaves with a bag full of cash. In the following scene, Dell is playing pool inside the pub when Rachel returns, she informs Dell that they are closed while holding the bag of cash. Dell is undeterred and he is determined to visit Marty Bird one way or another. Dell watches her shaking and asks if she is cold, even though she insists Marty is not there. She tells Dell that 2 men died on the dock 2 nights ago and that she is still pretty shaken up. Dell is asked to leave yet again, but Rachel informs him that they will be open in a few hours if he wants to return. She inquires whether he would like her to inform Marty of his visit. Dell declines the offer and says that he would rather surprise Marty instead. Remember, I am summarizing the entire series, so let me know what your favorite TV show and movie is so I can summarize it in the near future. Also, consider clicking subscribe if you enjoyed this summary. Doing these 2 things helps my channel out tremendously. I truly appreciate your support. When Agent Petty returns to the motel, Evans points out that they have no grounds to arrest Dell as he searches his computer. They should just make something up, Petty believes. Agent Evans explains that the cartel utilizes Dell to travel back and forth because he has a clean sheet. He is essentially impenetrable according to Evans, so they let him go. Wendy and the kids arrive at the sporting field expecting to meet Marty there. Instead, it is Marty's Chicago-based private investigator. The investigator informs Wendy that Marty is the one who sent him. Wendy inquires about Marty's well-being, to which he responds that he is okay, but that he has been directed to deliver the envelopes containing new passports, social security cards, and birth certificates with their new names. The private investigator tells them that he is going to need their phones, but Charlotte refuses to give up her cell phone. Charlotte begs her mother, but in the end, she gives it up. When Marty gets home, he notices Dell's vehicle parked in the driveway. Buddy approaches them in the woods and inquires whether they are his acquaintances. Everything will be alright, Marty tells Buddy. Moments later, Dell demands to know where Garcia is when Marty claims to have a solution to all of their issues. We see Ruth pulling up to her family's trailers when she gets a call from prison. Her dad says he was just told his brothers are dead and that their deaths were accidents. She explains they were electrocuted on the dock at the Blue Cat. Cade asks Ruth if Marty is still alive and she says yes. Cade ends the call shortly, telling Ruth that they are going to talk in person. Back at the Birds, Marty tells Dell he has no idea what happened to Garcia. As Dell and one of his associates continue torturing Marty, Dell continues to ask Marty over and over again where Garcia is. Marty sticks to his story by repeating that he has no idea. As Dell begins to choke Marty, Marty tells Dell that he has a plan. Dell lets go and tells Marty that the main difference between when Bruce would lie to him and when he lies is that Bruce would shut up while lying, while Marty, on the other hand, speaks at a breakneck speed. Dell believes Marty's plan yet again and lets him live. Later on, we see Dell is introduced to Jacob and Darlene Snell by Marty. Marty starts talking to Dell about the Snells as soon as they settle down at the table. He argues that the Snells have a distribution issue, and because of this, the cartel could buy the heroin from the Snells and then sell it in Chicago. When Dell asks Marty why they would agree to buy from the Snells, Marty says because 20% of the heroin the cartel brings in through the border gets confiscated, buying from the Snells would compensate the cartel for this loss due to seizures at the border. Marty also adds that he would like to build a casino to launder all of their money through. Building a casino would allow them to launder as much money as they needed. Marty clarifies that he could build a riverboat casino within 1,000 feet of the Missouri River according to Missouri law. However, in order to do this, he would need to flood in some of the Snells' land. Marty adds that he knows the Snells have been using their profits to buy 10 acres of surrounding property since 1985 every single year. Marty guesses that their purpose is to gain pressure against the power company that forced their ancestors to flee their homes many years ago. He further adds that the casino money would enable them to purchase larger amounts of land year after year than what they are currently purchasing. When Marty asks Dell what he thinks of the idea, Dell says he needs to excuse himself to make a phone call to his boss. Dell returns to say he agrees and that he'll leave Marty to finalize the deal. As Dell is preparing to leave, he congratulates Marty in his ability to have him work with the Snells, but Dell disrespects the Snells by calling them a derogatory term. Darlene is immediately outraged. When Darlene hears the word used by Dell, she swiftly shoots Dell. Marty contacts Wendy to let her know he is fine. He tells his family that he is alright, but cautions them against returning home. When When Wendy invites him to join them, he says he is unable to do so. They'll never stop looking if he does. She asks if he wants to speak with the children, but he declines. Wendy apologizes for everything she's done as Marty begins to cry. He claims it was not her fault that he was turned off. He hangs up because she doesn't want to. Wendy gets in the car and the kids scream for her to take them home. We also see Pastor Mason has pulled off on the side of the road. He gets out of the car with the infant and goes for a walk in the woods. When he arrives at the lake, he and the infant begin to stroll into it. He holds the infant under the water for far too long before lifting him up as if he had christened him. Ruth then transports Wyatt and 3 to the funeral of their father and uncle. When Marty is on the trampoline, he hears a car approaching. Charlotte and Jonah dash around the corner into his embrace. He and Wendy are both crying as they stare at one another. That was episode 10 and the season finale of season 1, titled The Toll. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. If you enjoyed this summary, consider clicking like and subscribe. It truly helps me to grow this channel. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Why would we kill someone we just gone into partnership with?
We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.